this piece of work. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on the show.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. So your previous work, Hell Trip and the Zens, how does this latest piece, Lost Horizon, differ from what you've done before?
So I mostly started out doing production work for commercials, and then I jumped into horror, which was my first experience of shooting a live action feature.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving into the realm of action films has always been one of those have-to-dos on my list, and yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah. So maybe, I mean, you talk about moving from horror and then now into this action film. How do you keep the unique storytelling elements while you put together these compelling stories?
You know, growing up in the 80s, watching movies like Die Hard, you always want to create those kind of films. And eventually we said, okay, well, we've got to do this. The opportunity presented itself. I was presented a book that they wanted to turn into a feature. And so we set about writing the script for this and putting it together in a very short period of time. And we got to obviously shoot it in Limpopo, beautiful province. And yeah, I think we produced quite a nice product.
I actually wanted to talk about just those logistics and the locations that were chosen to film this. Is South Africa becoming a preferred destination for a lot of international filmmakers?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Cape Town is synonymous with already a lot of UK and US projects.
Yeah.
But South Africa as a whole has everything, everything that a filmmaker would want.
Yeah. And then the Lost Horizon, I just want us maybe to explore on it a little bit more, because it explores themes around betrayal, survival, redemption, amidst this war, as well as corruption. How do you balance that intense action sequence with the character development, and how do you go about in choosing those that take up some of these characters?
You know, if you're doing a series, you have the luxury of different episodes to fall back on character development. But when you have an hour-and-a-half movie, you have to get straight into the story quite quickly.
Yeah.
And we follow the story of Michael Foster and his team. They're there to build a dam, and they're there during the time of a civil war. So it's a very difficult conflict. There's a lot of characters to develop in a very short space of time. But yeah, we try our best to anchor ourselves and attach ourselves to the characters throughout the journey, so that we transport the audience, to this very different place,
Yeah, yeah. And budgets quite often are a very contentious issue when it comes to filmmaking, especially in South Africa. How are you able to navigate some of those challenges when it comes to the funding of a production of this magnitude? Yeah,
so funding is always challenging. I mean, anywhere, to get funding anywhere in any country. But I think, our previous films and the way they performed helped us to land more projects. And yeah, we're one of the more successful companies that produce high quality content at a fraction of the cost. One of our artistry, I always say, being a filmmaker is like being a magician. You have to learn how to, pull a rabbit from a hat. And in this case, working with a very small budget and make it look as expensive as possible. And I think ACT Films is able to sort of produce that on that scale. Yeah.
You've premiered in France as well as in Los Angeles. How did those global audiences react to this film?
So yeah, about a month ago, it opened to theaters in Los Angeles, which was great. Great response. We've had a lot of reviews, and so yeah, it's been great. Obviously, appeals to that market. Yeah. So the demographics are different. Each of our films appeal to different demographics, but essentially, yeah, it's doing very well at the moment. I think people get to see a side of Africa they haven't seen before, and so yeah, we're very excited to showcase that.
Yeah, and those different demographics, when you're putting together your story, how important is it to sort of steer it towards a grouping that will really be able to resonate with the story, or would look at that story from a place of aspiration?
Yeah, well, I always go back to what inspired me. I love nostalgia movies, the Stranger Things, the things set in the 80s or 90s, the A-Team. So when looking at an action film, drawing from those kind of inspirations, pulling a lot of that into what we do. And we'll always have people who love and hate your films. That's just the way the world works. It's like music; it's very selective. And yeah, I think we've we've hit it on the nail. Yeah.
And distribution channels, I mean, we're seeing not so many people going to movie theaters anymore. I mean, that it still exists, but it's slowly dying down. Many of them using a lot of the streaming platforms in order for us to access movies. Do you take that into cognizance when you're looking at where you're going to place your work?
Yeah, so we always shoot for large format. We always try to think of the theatrical side first. It is sad that the theatrical side is slowly diminishing over time. I hope that'll change with time, but we obviously, you know, when we shoot a movie, we try to give you the best cinematic experience, whether it be on your large screen TV or whether it be on your, you know, your projector or whatever it is. But yeah, in general, the VOD streaming platforms seem to be picking it up quite nicely, and it's something that we intend to produce going forward, you know, for the rest of our career. Yeah.
Yeah. You've referenced work from back in the 80s. Who inspires you in terms of the creative work that they do that you pull inspiration from?
Well, my favorite directors growing up was James Cameron, Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese. There's a number of great film directors, Joe Johnston. Yeah, and so just watching their work, you know, and going, wow, they've got a very high level of execution, and just trying to elevate our work to that point and taking the people that we have, training them up. We do a lot of internships as well at our company. So it's always nice to have people join us and learn.
Yeah. And I can imagine how many young people want to come in and learn how to become the next greatest film director. No,
plenty. Yeah. Everyone wants the director's chair. They have to earn their way there. You know, everyone sees themselves as a director, but that title is something that you have to earn, you know, unfortunately. I always say if you haven't sold your film yet, you're still a hobbyist.
And that's very important. I mean, that earning your way up to that director's chair. What do you find is a lot of the misconceptions that young people have when coming into the film industry, especially when they want to then see their names in those neon lights, but having to start off as a production assistant or a first AD? What does it take, and what do young people make as mistakes trying to move up those ranks?
A lot of the youth of today want it now. They want to achieve that goal yesterday. But it takes time, and it takes discipline, and it takes courage, it takes rejection, getting over that and being able to keep going, and just being motivated and focused on your dream and your goal, and no matter what, and not taking no for an answer, I think is the key, but just having to learn from other people and being humble in that process.
We spoke about budget and funding issues, but we didn't really get to how much it would cost to make such a film.
So budgets can vary. You know, if this was a Hollywood movie, it would cost somewhere in the north of $20–30 million. You know, but you know, I can't obviously disclose the budget, but it was a fraction of that. And yeah, I think that's always the hard part, is being able to do it with very, very little resources and money and time. The more money you have, the more time you have to shoot a production, the better it's going to be, because you can do more takes and you can really execute, you know, a product. But when time's against you, and locations, and these were very difficult locations, you know, some of them were mountains that no one had really gained access to in a long time. It was also dangerous areas that we shot in that, you know, actually had real physical threat and danger.
Yeah.
You know, just added to the realism of the actors' performances, but also the landscape.
I can imagine.
So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do.
I mean, you speak about the locations, one of the locations being in Limpopo, but what were the main production challenges that you experienced?
So it was just, you know, taking a team from Joburg, bringing them there, housing them there, and then getting to areas where it was very remote, very difficult to travel, getting the gear and equipment up mountains in had to be proper 4x4 vehicles, you know, overhanging a cliffside where you could just, you know, perish. You know, some very difficult stuff, shooting in conditions where there's no light at all, and we have to light everything in the middle of nowhere. There's snakes and wildlife and things like that that are very imminent to the possible threat of the crew. But we obviously took every precaution necessary to keep everybody safe. Yeah.
Sure. And what's next after Last Horizon? What can we expect from you?
So I've got 4 more films coming. They're already in post-production, so we've already shot them. We've got 2 new ones planned for the new year. We've got a film called Kill Sight, which is a lot like Mission Impossible meets John Wick. And then we've got a movie called 0 Hour, which is a lot like the John McClane Die Hard franchise. So we hope to franchise these films. We hope they're successful and that the audiences really get into them, you
Yeah.
know, and yeah, I think you can expect to see some really great projects coming up soon.
Really exciting. Also, especially that it's homegrown productions. It's really lovely to see and watch ourselves in such films. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us this morning.
Thank
It really
you.
has been
Hope
a
to see you
pleasure.
again. Thank you so much.
Certainly, when you release those next films. That was Patrick Garcia, the director of Lost Horizons, speaking to us there about the film's themes of conflict, choice, and survival.